Hey everybody, it's Lon Seidman, and we're taking a look today at the Wyze Sense. That's what these little guys are right here. These are motion and contact sensors that are used with the Wyze cameras we've looked at a few times now here on the channel. These cameras are super inexpensive, about 25 bucks a piece, but are very feature rich, and you can use them without a subscription fee. And we did a full review of how these cameras work, which I'll link to down below in the master playlist. We're going to focus today on the new product, which are a set of sensors that work with the cameras. They've got a contact sensor here that can detect when a door is open. They also have a motion sensor, an infrared motion sensor, that can detect when people might be walking around your house, and it will generate notifications that you can do things with, either through the Wyze app or through IFTTT. So we're going to be taking a closer look at how these work in just a second, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that Wyze sent these products to the channel free of charge. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see how these low-cost sensors work. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. At the moment, they are selling these as a $20 kit. You get inside this little box one of these motion sensors, two of the contact sensors, and a wireless receiver. It does, though, require that you have a camera already, and if you don't have a camera, you'll have to buy one from them. This one here costs about $25. It's a full-featured Wi-Fi security camera, and what you do is take the wireless receiver here and just plug it into the back on the USB port, and it's now ready to go for the little sensors here. It also works with the Wyze Cam Pan camera that we looked at a few months ago. That's their 360 motion camera. The receiver will work with that one as well. So you definitely need to have one of these Wyze cameras already. Once you get it installed and update the firmware on the camera through their app, it is very easy to get these sensors connected. Now, I took the backs off the sensor so you can see what's inside. There's a large battery here on the motion sensor. It's a CR2450. They say you'll get about a year of battery life out of these, depending on what's going on. If they trigger a lot, I think you'll see lower battery life, but you'll get a warning in the app when it's time to replace it. The other device uses a CR1632, it looks like here. And again, you'll get a notification when the batteries are running low and you can replace those. Each of these receivers can connect up to 100 of these little devices, and I found the range to be pretty good. I was setting this camera up kind of in the center of my house and putting things on different floors, and it was working every room that I tried it in, so I was surprised by how good the range was. There is no limit, though, to how many receivers you can get, so if you have multiple cameras around the house, you can pair up different sensors with different receivers and have them all functioning independently through the app, and you'll get notifications and all the IFTTT stuff mostly centralized. So pretty simple to get it up and running. There wasn't much to do other than poke a little button on each device to pair it up, and then you are ready to go. Now, the way the contact sensors work is that you put one portion on the windowsill, for example, and another one on the window itself, so that when the window opens, the connection here gets broken between the two sides of the sensor. When that happens, you'll see this little orange light start to blink, and what it's doing right now is actually transmitting back to the camera, and then it will trigger a notification. And I found that these things will stick to just about anything, so you'll see in a few minutes there's some other more creative things that you might be able to do with this thing to maybe monitor other things in your house, like drawers or cookie jars and that sort of thing. The sensors have some adhesive on the back. However, it is not replaceable adhesive, and once you stick it on, it will be really hard to get it off. So you might want to look at adapting some Velcro or something to give yourself some more flexibility for moving these sensors around. I do hope that they offer more purchasing options. I would love to be able to buy more of the contact sensors on their own. I'm guessing they're just ramping up production right now, and hopefully that will be an option in the near future, because if you can connect 100 of these things to your single receiver here, there's a lot of things you can monitor in your home very inexpensively, and I hope we see a lot more of these little sensors moving forward. So let me hook up everything here. We'll boot up the app, and I will show you how it works. All right, so here we are in the app, and I've got my motion sensor and one of my contact sensors paired up with it. So I think what I'm going to do first here is add the second contact sensor to the mix here. So you can see I've got an option as to what I want to connect to the app here. I'm going to select another one of those contact sensors. I'm going to be pairing it up with my first camera here. And now it just wants me to go over to the sensor and take out this little tool that it comes with and push the button in for 3 seconds until this little red light here starts blinking. And once it does that, it will hopefully pair up with the camera and will be good to go. Takes just a second or two for that to happen. It's usually pretty quick here, as you can see. Now I can give it a name, and we'll call this contact sensor 2. And then we'll move over from there. I have a little typo in there, but we can fix that later. I'll click Finish Setup. And now you can see that my second contact sensor here is on the list, and it's showing me that it is currently closed. Now you will get pretty much immediate notifications from the contact sensors when they fire off. So we're going to jump back up to the 2-up view here. I've got my phone on its home screen. If I just separate the two parts of the contact sensor, you can see I was pushed a notification very quickly. And if we jump into the Wyze app here, it'll report to us that the sensor is currently open as of 12:07 p.m. And then if I decide I want to close my door as a simulation here and put the sensor back together, you'll see that it very quickly responds with everything being closed up. And by the way, this works over the internet, so if I wasn't home, I would be getting this information exactly the same way you see here while I am in the home. And it also keeps a log of every opening and closing and how long things were open and closed for, which can be very useful. There are some settings you can adjust, so if you don't want to get notified all the time, you can turn off the notifications and maybe only get notified if a door stays open, for example. Now the motion sensor will also trigger some notifications, and we'll do a little test of it real quick. I've got it pointing in the other direction here, and if I wave my hand in front of it, we should get a motion detected event here pushed out to my phone and to the app, so you can see that working. And then you can go in on the notifications here and have it give you notifications when it detects motion or when it becomes clear, or both. It will have the motion event continue for a little bit before it shuts down, but you get the idea as to how all of that works. I found the motion sensor here to be very sensitive, especially because it has a bit of a fisheye to it. So even if you walk on the side of it, I'm finding it's picking things up and sending notifications out. So it is very sensitive. It's probably more sensitive than the camera's motion detection that it uses. So you might want to use these in places where you don't always trust the camera to pick up something, or maybe have it in a room where it might be dark. It will pick up that motion in the dark, and you can trigger a light to turn on and the camera to start recording, and you can really nest a lot of different things using IFTTT or some of the built-in features of the app. Now I want to do something fun now to show you how you can do some automation with this. I put the other contact sensor that I got in my kit onto this cookie jar, and we're going to trigger some things to happen when I go in and get my animal crackers here. Let's take a look. So the first thing we're going to do is jump back into that cookie jar sensor. I'm going to hit the gear icon and go over to Sensor Videos. And what I'm going to do is have camera 1 start recording every time that sensor gets triggered. And some of the things that you might do with this are, maybe you're in an environment where you've got a drawer that has some valuable things in it. People are allowed to open the drawer, but maybe you want a record of every person that does initiate that open. Well, this will do that for you. So if we go in here now, you'll see that camera 1 is checked off. And if we jump back to my 2-up view here, I'll just back out of the settings here and go back to the main menu. I'm going to open up my cookie jar. We will get that notification alerting us that it is now open, as you can see here. The camera should hopefully begin recording. It does require that the camera be online. You can see it's pushing an image to us here. I'm just going to shut the lid back up here because I got caught. And we'll go about our business here. That should now show closed. And if I go over to the camera image that it picked up, you can see here that we've got a recording now that's pushing back from the Wyze cloud of my activity with the cookie jar when it happened. And this is something that doesn't require the camera's motion controls to be on either. So this is strictly tied to the sensor, and it's a great way to monitor activities in places where you want to just really have a record of what people are doing when they're rummaging around through a drawer or opening up a door or something like that. Very convenient. Now you can also use if this then that to initiate other activities from those notifications. And if we jump over to my phone here real quick, you can see what we're going to do. I've got one already set up that we're going to take a look at in a second, but I thought I would just show you what the workflow is. So once you set up an IFTTT account, you attach it to your Wyze account, and you can see now some of the things that I can do. I can have it do things, of course, based on what the camera might have detected, but now we've got some new options here at the bottom, including the contact sensor opening or closing, or the motion sensor detecting motion or becoming clear. So for example, on the contact sensor, if I want to have something happen every time that a open event occurs, I can choose the contact sensor that I want to track. I can create a trigger here. And then I can use just about any other app that's out there supported by IFTTT to react to that event. So I could turn lights on, for example. I could maybe have an alarm go off. I could have a text message get sent to somebody. I could even add some things to a Google spreadsheet if I wanted to. But what I've got running here right now is a little scenario where a light will change color every time the cookie jar is opened. Let's have a look at that. Now on the other side of the room, I have a Wi-Fi connected smart light bulb that's compatible with IFTTT. And when I open up my cookie jar here, it's going to trigger the alert like it did before with the camera. But now IFTTT is getting that alert as well, and I set up something to change the light to red. That notifies my family that I am getting into the cookie jar again and they need to stop me. And then if I return the cookie jar to its original position there, you can see the light turns back to blue. And this is actually two different events inside of IFTTT. You can see the first one here, if the jar opens, change the color of the bulb, and then if the jar closes, change the color of the bulb back to something else. And then, of course, I could have it do other things in addition to this just by setting up additional IFTTT recipes. Very cool stuff, and I like the fact that it works so well with it so you can really decide what products you want it to work with. At the moment, it does not work with any of the major home hubs. I guess they're working on getting the Amazon A word along with Google's Home to work with it, so that might be coming a little bit later this year. But I think IFTTT gives you a lot of flexibility, and you can easily tie it into your existing home automation workflow. So overall, I am impressed with these little sensors. They are very inexpensive. They work exceptionally well. The range on them is much better than I expected. It was working throughout my entire house, which is pretty decently sized. But again, you can always just get another sensor kit and hook them up to another camera in a different part of the house. It's not very expensive to add on to a Wyze system. They are very reasonably priced. These are not designed, though, to work outdoors, so you'll have to put these sensors inside your home, not outside the home. The cameras are also not weatherproof either, so keep that in mind. My only real gripe is the fact that they all have permanent adhesive on the back of them. Especially the little motion sensor here, which is something that you might want to move around a little bit. So maybe if they had a magnet option, or maybe just some stick and re-stick kind of adhesive versus the permanent adhesive they're using now. But I guess it's a trade-off between something that you know is always going to stick versus something that might fall off depending on humidity and other conditions. So that was my only real gripe with them. I would like to see them boost up the app support a little bit to maybe include grouping of sensors together. It's also kind of difficult to arm the system automatically when you leave the house, for example. So you could maybe have IFTTT do that for you, have a location-based event so that when you leave, it will turn on the notifications. But I would like to see maybe a notification difference depending on what the circumstances are. So if I'm home, I may not care that the window is open and was left open, but if I'm not at home, I do care about that. So I'd like to see, maybe some differences in notifications depending on my physical location. And that, of course, is something they can always add through software. So overall, they are off to a really good start here. These are really useful sensors that work as advertised, and I remain impressed with this very consumer-friendly platform that they've put together. And you can see more of my reviews with these down below in the video description. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.